Visakha, known as the City of Destiny, is spread on the coast of Bay of Bengal in Andhra Pradesh. Being an abode of natural beauty, this city attracts a large number of tourists and is developing by leaps and bounds. Andhra University, which gained national prominence with its unique style of offering higher education, is situated in this city.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining us in on this Sunday evening. We thank you all for providing your immense support since 3 months, and it's the platform is running successfully since 3 months. Thank you all for your support. First of all, I want to thank our Vice Chancellor Garu, Professor PVGD Prasad Reddy Garu, for providing this online platform which is helping many students and faculty and scholars as well. I also want to thank our Professor P. Srinivasrao Garu, our Principal Garu, for launching this Tech Talk platform and also supporting us since 3 months. Uh, we thank you, sir. As initiated by AU College of Engineering, Andhra University, Visakhapatnam, a series of Tech Talks are being live every Sunday at 7 p.m. G.I.T.A provides online platform for the enrichment of student community uh, to enrich the technical knowledge of student fraternity of Andhra University College and other universities as well. G.I.T.A includes technical by domain experts uh, from various domains, which would help in enriching the knowledge of students and the budding engineers of India. Now I hand over the session to today's anchor, whose name is Mayur. Before hand overing the session, I really thank today's speaker, Mr. AKSHAY SUNIL AGRAWAL Garu, for joining in this session. It is really a great privilege for us, sir, for joining in. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time with us. I hope this session will be a very informative session to all the students of AU and will gain a good knowledge, and all your questions will be answered at the end. Please do uh, post your questions in the chat box available in the below. Now I hand over the screen to Mayur.
Thank you, Vinil. Good evening, everyone. Indian Constitutional Assembly, which is a precursor of Imperial Legislative Council and a successor of Imperial Legislative Council and predecessor to Parliament of India, was aimed at writing Constitution of India. And in the speech of Traced with Destiny, first Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, quoted that long years ago we have made a tryst with destiny, and now time comes when we shall redeem our pledge, not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom. A moment comes, which comes but rarely in history, when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends and when the soul of nation, long suppressed, finds utterance. It is fitting that at this solemn moment we take the pledge of dedication to service of India and her people and to the still larger cause of humanity. And Jawaharlal Nehru continues, and somewhere in the middle, he adds that the past is over and it is the future that beckons to us now. That future is not one of ease or resting, but of incessant striving so that we may fulfill the pledges we have so often taken and the one we shall take today. The service of India means the service of millions who suffer. It means the ending of poverty and ignorance and disease and inequality of opportunities. And 4 months before this historic tryst with destiny, there was another historic moment where Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in Metcalfe House of Delhi meets the first ever batch of IAS officers, and and he has given a speech for Surajya or good governance, which was aimed and strived by Mahatma Gandhi. And in his popular lecture, he said, "Your predecessors were brought up in the traditions in which they kept themselves aloof from common run, the people. It will be your bounden duty to treat the common men in India as your own." And this was said by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel on 21st of April 1947, and that date ever marked since as Civil Services Day of India, and we are just 1 month away from that auspicious day. And in Constituent Assembly, Sardar Patel quoted, "I wish this to be recorded in the House that during the last 2 or 3 years, if most of the members of the services had not been serving the country efficiently, practically, the Union would have collapsed. And in the last 7 decades, we have seen tremendous changes in India along its failures and inefficiencies, but the change is observable and it is quite we are seeing it every day, and the challenges are changing their shapes, their constraints, their factors day by day, and IAS officers are also changing or updating to meet the new challenges being posed by society, by the world every day and every moment. IAS officers really defended and extended the constitutional values in adhering to the spirit of the good governance and progressive legislation, and they have a significant role they played in national building. And UPSC is undoubtedly a strenuous protocol, and there are millions of aspirants every year who compete for just few hundreds of vacancies, and there are few budding officers, young IAS officers, who are striving really to make India a better place, a better country, who are striving regularly to improve India on various scores of human development indices. And we Gita team today, this evening, presents one such young budding officer named AKSHAY Sunil Agrawal, who cracked such a difficult IS or such a difficult civils examination in his very first attempt, and who he is from engineering background. He has completed his BTech in mechanical engineering from College of Engineering of Pune in 2014. Later, he has done his MSc Economics in National University of Singapore in 2017, and he worked at Lee Kuan Yew University for Public Policy Singapore for 1 year. Later, he joined IIS in 2019. We, Geeta, presenting you an efficient, young, and brilliant IIS officer with transdisciplinary experiences this evening. I welcome you, sir. And now the session is yours.
Thank you so much, Mayuresh, for that flowery introduction. And I would like to thank Andhra University, Professor Mallikarjunam, and Mr. Vinil, who was in touch with me uh, to schedule this session. I welcome you all to this session. I guess my audience is the engineering students, and I feel very proud and also very old that I have left engineering 7 years behind, and now I've again come in the midst of the budding engineers that you are. As in the introductory speech, Mr. Mayuresh said that he started with the Independence Constituent Assembly, and the speech, the famous speech that was given by our first Honorable Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru ji, that we had a tryst with destiny on the midnight of 15th of August 1947. And ever since our growth process is going on, and IAS officers have played a significant role in it. Not the I would not really say that IAS officers are the sole players who led this country to grow and progress and come to the stage that it is today. But it is also the lakhs and lakhs of engineering students and engineers like you who made India a hub of manufacturing, a hub of software, export, and so many, and made India an IT capital of the world, which really brought us a lot of foreign exchange. Also, there are many other people from other fields like finance and economics and other areas who have contributed to India's society, India's social development, and other issues, other social issues that our country was suffering from right from many years. So today it feels a very proud moment for me that I've been invited by the Andhra University to speak with the young engineers like you, because I can reminisce the days when I was on the other side of the stage. So this is the virtual stage. Thanks to Corona, we are not able to do anything face to face, but the technology that you engineers have developed is helping us to even communicate and exchange ideas through online platforms. Uh, so first of all, let me tell you that what am I going to talk in this session, as the title of the session was motivational talk. So many of you may be feeling that I'll bore you with a lot of motivational speeches and all those cliched lines and proverbs and thoughts. But I won't do that, because I can totally understand a mindset of an engineering student. So first of all, when I was actually thinking about this talk, Mr. Hudson was in touch with me, and also Professor Mallikarjunam, that they called me up and told me that you have to speak with our engineering students. So I was just thinking as to what will I talk to you in this session. So then I remembered that I too was an engineering student at one point of time, and what would I say to younger myself if I was given an opportunity? So back in 2010, I joined engineering, which was a different kind of time. The Facebook was just evolving, and Instagram and social media had not so much democratized at that point of time. So we have seen the growth of social media in those 4 or 5 years that I was in engineering, and therefore a lot of changes have happened in the last 10 years. uh, so what would I go back, if I could go back to the past and I could talk to my younger self in engineering? So what things I would like to tell my younger self, so that those things I would like to share with you, because these things have come from my experience over the last 10 years, and might help you with your career and your professional and personal life progress. The first thing that I would like to tell you is that you should understand the importance of imperfections. So most of the times what happens is we feel as individuals that we are not perfect in doing something. For example, if you're playing a guitar or if you're playing a piano, you feel ashamed of going on a stage and playing it or practicing it, because you feel that you don't know it properly, you haven't learned it properly. uh, if you are trying for, say, civil service examinations or gate examinations, you feel that you are not fully prepared and you can't take the test, you can't join the coaching. And there are, that there is always a fear of imperfection. But you should understand one thing, that imperfections are the most important things that can lead you ahead. Because the first thing that the first time you play the guitar, and the first time you write an answer, the first time you practice some test, that is the time when you realize where you stand and what are the loopholes in your preparation. And if you don't start ever, or if you don't if you are afraid of your imperfections, then you can never progress ahead, because imperfections are bound to be there, and you should always try to go ahead with your imperfections, and try to hone your skills in a way that you move towards perfection. So you should understand the importance of imperfections, and they are not a bad thing. And you should not be caught up with a mindset that you are not perfect in something and therefore you cannot do it. So this is the first thing. Second thing I would like to tell you is that you should always live in the present. Now, this is a very cliched. This may sound very cliched to you, that all everybody says live in the present, live in the present. So, what do we really mean by that? So, by living in the present, it's just very very simple thing. You have to you don't have to harp on the on the future, and neither you have to dwell in the past. So maybe you don't come from a very good financial background, your childhood was not so good, maybe you have had some trauma in your childhood. Don't dwell on those things. Maybe you had a lot of failures in your past. Don't dwell on those things. You have to you if you keep dwelling on those things, if that mindset is there, then you will never progress ahead. That is one thing. Second thing is, don't harp too much on the future as to what will happen if I do this, what will happen if I don't do this, what will happen. If you do that too much, then you will never progress. So live in the present, as in do what you are supposed to do today. If you are supposed to study today, study. If you're supposed to play today, you have to play. If you're supposed to do some kind of work today, you have to do it. So basically live in the present, meaning that you do what you are supposed to do. So yoga karmasu kaushalam, which is a tagline of Indian Administrative Service. So this tagline very beautifully captures what I mean by live in the present. As to yoga karmasu kaushalam, meaning you have to be doing the work skillfully in the present, and that is the true yoga. And that is when you will have the kind of happy life and self realization, to what we call it in other language. Third thing is, you have to always learn from your failures. Don't keep repeating your mistakes. So for example, if you commit some mistake now, which everybody does, don't just forget about them. You have to learn from your mistakes. You have to also learn from the mistakes of the others. So that is also very important. And the one who learns from the mistakes of the others is even wiser than the one who learns from his own mistake. So you have to learn from your failures, you have to learn from your own mistakes. And you believe me, when you reach your goal, when you reach your destination or your ambition that you have set for yourself, then the days of that struggle, the days of those journey will strike you the most beautiful when you reach your goal. So that is how you have to progress ahead in life, slowly. At this point of time, I would like to give you a very small story. I would like to tell you a very small story, which I think most of you can relate. I'm sure so many of you would be playing some kind of sports like basketball or cricket, or anything. It can, or you can also be into music. You can be playing some musical instrument. So you can be into maybe music. You can be into sports. You can be into any kind of thing for that matter. So there is a story it's an old story of Berlin Music School, which they conducted on their alumni, on their students. And they saw that and they divided their alumni into basically three groups. So the first group of people were the ones who were music teachers, so who were teaching music to other people in the music schools, or maybe privately. The second group of people were the people who were playing in the orchestra, in a group of musicians, right? And the third group of people were the soul artists, like the soul singer or the soul guitarist, soul players. So basically, these three sets of people what they found, so when they studied, when they analyzed as to why some of the people became music teachers, why some of the people became, a group of, a group of musicians and a part of an orchestra, and why some people are so successful that, they are the sole artists. What they found was that the first group of people who were the music teachers, they used to practice 5,000 hours every year. So that was the average practice that they did, 5,000 hours every year. The second, the other two groups of people, which was, people who were playing in orchestra and the sole artists, used to practice 10,000 hours in a year. So the practice was double, and that is how they could, be a part of an orchestra, or they could be sole guitarists, or they could be sole artists. But what was the difference between the sole artist and the group, and people who were part of an orchestra, was that the sole artists used to, or the solo artists used to, uh, their priority was that the first thing they would do in the day, in the morning, was practicing their music. So prioritizing things, so by this small story, I would like to tell you that prioritizing things makes, your life very different from others. So what you prioritize in life is very important. You have to do a lot of things, but you need to also set your priorities. So that is what I mean by that. And also, obviously, you have to practice, and practice what you, if you want to be successful in any field of your life. That is another thing. Another thing I would like to tell you is that, because you all are, from technical background, and you are studying into engineering colleges, so I'm sure you will understand the a little bit of economics also. I'll introduce a topic of economics here, which is the Solos growth model. I'm not sure if any one of you knows about it. But let me just very briefly tell you what is a Solo's growth model. So Robert Solo was an economist, was a growth economist, and he sort of invented a growth model, and he had given a theory on how the countries grow in the long term, and how growth and development happen in any country, in any nation. So what was his basic funda was, he said that it is not the, so basically in an economy, whenever we study economics, you will see that, we divide the factors of economy into labor and capital, mostly into these two. So labor, like the human capital, and there is the physical capital, which is the money, or which is the physical infrastructure, etc. So basically, these two things are important for any economy to grow. Now, what Robert Solow said, that it is not the amount of labor or capital that leads to long-term growth, but how well they are put together. So this maybe this story is, this theory is from the economics, and it applies to growth economics. However, this story applies to our life also. So you may be in the worst of situation, you may be in the best of situation, but what is important is that, how you put the resources or the things that are there with you at use. So basically, what Solo said, that how you put this labor and capital together is what decides the growth of a country in the long term. So that is what also applies to our life, as to how we put our resources together, and how we utilize our own energy, and the resources that we have together will decide how much growth we'll have in our life also. So that is another point that I wanted to make here. So please keep this in mind. Basically, I'm just trying to tell you that, try to utilize your time. This is the time when you have the maximum amount of energy. The youth energy that we call, is at its peak when you are in your engineering, or when you are in your college days. So please try to utilize those most judiciously. Don't waste your energy on silly things, because later on, you don't, because this time won't come back, and you should not regret the time that you wasted before. So that is one thing. So time never comes back. So so you should not have any regrets as to I did not do this or I did not pursue this. So try to do whatever you feel like doing, but set a goal for life and walk in the present. So that is what I want to tell you. Now, so many times we also say that there is a lot of luck also involved, especially in the competitive exams like UPSC, and also maybe in other fields also. So you may be feeling that luck plays a major role. So what is luck? So when we talk about luck, so what is luck? Luck basically is nothing but the things that are not in your control. So for example, maybe you are studying too hard for your gate examinations or GRE examinations or maybe UPSC examination, and somebody falls sick in your family, somebody fractures his leg in your family, or maybe you fall sick. So these are the things that are not in your hands. So maybe luck was not in your favor. So that is what I call luck. But believe me, luck is only just a very small tiny portion, although a significant portion of whatever progress is there. But since it is not in our control, you cannot do anything about it. All right, so you cannot control what will happen to you, or what will happen to your family members, or what will be the situation like it is today, like the corona situation. So you can't just help it. So there are things which are not in our control. Since they are not in our control, we cannot do anything about them. So don't just harp on them, don't just think about it. So you don't have to think about luck, because luck is nothing but the things which are not in your control. That is what I feel. The another thing that I would like to tell you is that since you are engineering students and you understand mathematics very well, so I would like to just bring in a very small concept from mathematics, which is a linear curve and a a non-linear curve. So imagine a parabolic curve and a linear curve. So if on the x-axis there is the on the x-axis you plot the amount of hard work that you put in, and on the y-axis you put in the payoff, or the result that you get, or the success that you get out of your hard work. Now, when you plot this curve, you will see that this curve is not going to be linear. You believe me. So, for example, if you increase your hard work, maybe your luck, your success will increase a little bit. If you increase it further, it will increase. If you increase it further, it will further increase. However, it will not increase linearly. I mean by that the proportion that if you increase your hard work by 10%, your success will not increase by 10%. It will increase by less than 10%. So the curve is non-linear for success, and this applies to any field, whether it is whether it is engineering, whether it is UPSC, whether it can be anything. So for example, if your gate examination is for 1000 marks, so for 800 marks you have to study so much, but to reach from 800 to 850 it will take more energy or more study. To reach from 850 to 900 it will take even more amount of energy. To reach from 900 to 950 it will take even more, and from 950 to 1000 it will take even more. So I think now by this time I think you realize what I mean by non-linear pay relationship between success and hard work, or payoff and hard work. So this also you have to keep in mind, that you don't have to think that if I'm doing this much then I'll get this much, and if I increase it, if I double it, then my success will also double. No, that will not happen. So in order to double your success, maybe you have to increase your hard work by 10 times. So that is how it happens to any kind of job, that is how it happens to any kind of studies, or that is how it happens to any kind of exam that you are going to give. One last thing that I would like to tell you is that it is not just the IAS officers who serve this country, who help this country, who work for this country. And I wanted to give this message to you as students, because a lot of people think that only after entering the civil services, by becoming IAS and IPS officers, can you serve the country, can you do a service to the nation. No, I don't believe in that. I think you can serve the country by doing any kind of job that you're into. Even, don't you think, even the even the person who sweeps your college floors is doing some kind of service to the nation? Don't you think that the person who is selling vegetables on the street is doing some kind of service to the nation? So, don't you think that the engineers who are sitting in Bangalore IT Park are doing service to the nation? They are bringing a lot of foreign exchange to our country. Don't you think that the people who are into the US, who are into London, who are into Singapore, who are in Australia are doing service to the nation? They are giving a lot of foreign exchange to the country, which are known as remittances, which is helping our economy. So every one of us can contribute to the nation. Every one of us can do service to the nation, and you have to keep this in mind. You don't have to become an IS officer or an IPS officer to do service to life. Definitely, IAS and IPS offers you a greater platform, a bigger platform to serve directly to the poor and to the underprivileged sections. You can make decisions, you can make policies, you can implement them better, and you can make people's lives better by being into IS and IPS. But if you want to think about serving the nation in one way or the other, it can be done in any form. So even the housewife who's preparing food for her husband, her family at home, she's also serving the nation. She's not getting paid for it, but she's serving the nation in one way or the other. So you have to keep this thing in mind, and you have to do what you feel like doing. And one thing, unfortunately, you are in the college, in the engineering, when this corona pandemic has come, and I'm sure already 1 year of your college is already wasted. You're not able to enjoy time on the campus, bunking the lectures and bunking the practicals. Please pardon me, professors who are sitting here, but those are the most beautiful times when we make the most beautiful memories with our friends, and looking out for some girl, and going on a date, and all these things happen during this time. Unfortunately, you guys are stuck because of pandemic, not able to enjoy. uh, but I'm hoping that this pandemic will end soon with the vaccination drive, which is on in our country at a very rapid pace. And I would like to request you everyone to please take the vaccine whenever your turn comes. Please keep safe. The pandemic, the virus is not still away. You may be seeing in the news that the numbers are rising again. So you have to keep safe, keep your family safe, follow the protocols that are set. Being into the IAS, I can tell you that whatever the district collector decides is for the good of the citizens. So if he imposes lockdown, so it is for some benefit of the society. It has nothing to do with his own personal pleasures or anything. So uh, so you have to basically follow the protocols, wear a mask. It is a very simple thing. You just have to wear mask, follow social distancing, and use sanitizers, wash your hands regularly, maintain social distancing. Also ask your parents, your family members to do it, and do take vaccines whenever your turn comes, because we are living in difficult times. And as you see, because of coronavirus, again, the times have become even more difficult. Now you are in engineering, and I'm sure you are worried about your jobs, as to whether you will get placed, whether you will get a job or not. uh, One thing that I wanted to also tell you was that as I told in the beginning, that I started my engineering in 2010. And those were the days when this Facebook had started, and the social media was slowly democratizing and reaching the common man. Smartphones were not so much into use, but slowly after 2014 and 15, the everybody almost started using smartphones, at least the middle class people. And that is how the social media also proliferated. So the technology is changing very fast, and you have to learn to relearn. Okay, you have to learn to because of changing technology, because of changing times, you have to be very you have to be very quick about relearning. So the world has moved leaps and bounds in the last 10 years, in the last many years, and I think you understand it better than I do, because you have been into this. You are growing into this time, and you know how fast the world is changing. uh, and it is updating. You also have to be very much wary. You also have to be very much cautious about the kind of problems that these technologies can create, and you have to think in an ethical way as to how these technologies can be used for the benefit of the mankind, rather than benefit of some big corporates and other things. What I'm referring to is issues of privacy concerns, and ethical artificial intelligence, machine learning, and these new technologies. So you have to think from an ethical point of view also. Please do that, because I implore you as a citizen of this country and also of this world. You have to work for the humanity. You have to also understand that we the world is changing very fast, and you have to be very quick with picking up new things. So today we live in a world where where the biggest where the biggest supplier of goods does not own a single godown of his own, which is Alibaba. The biggest cab company in the world does not own a single vehicle, which is the Uber. So the biggest hoteling company does not own a single room of its own, which is Airbnb. So these are the times where we are living. So you have to understand that the world is changing very fast, and with the use of technology, a lot of things are changing, and you have to be very quick to learn and also relearn. So I think that is what I wanted to tell you today in this motivational talk. And if there are any questions, I would like to sort of answer them now. So I think somebody has asked me. Somebody has asked me, when did you decide to become IAS officer? Uh, so this question I would like to answer by saying that uh, I personally was not, too much into this civil service preparation and all, but my father always showed me this dream of becoming an IAS officer right from my childhood. But in my engineering days, I was not really thinking about it. So that is why after my engineering, I went to National University of Singapore to study further for my masters in economics. After that, I started working in Singapore, and that is when I sort of I again talked with my father, and my father was like, "You should at least try once." And that is when I decided. I quit my job there. I came back and sort of thought that I'll just give one or two shots to it, and if I go through it, it's okay. Otherwise, I can get back to what I was doing. So that is when I decided to pursue civil services. Professor Mallikarjunam Rao has requested me to give any specific suggestion to aspirants of civil services. So, specific suggestion I would like to give. I'm sure many of you may be preparing for civil services. So, one thing that I would like to tell you now is that if you are in your second or third or final year of preparation, you should be very much be interested in studying. So it's because UPSC requires you to study long hours, and it is really a long process. So you may be knowing that civil service examination is a three-stage examination, in which goes on for one complete year. So in the month of June there is prelims exam, then in the month of October there is mains, and then in March, April there are interviews, and your results come at the end of April or May. So it takes just one complete year for preparation, and for the examination cycle, and one complete year before that for preparation. So basically it's you have to give in at least 2 years, and you have to work very hard. You have to study at least 6 to 8 hours every day for this examination. So first thing first, that you have to keep in mind that you have to be interested in studies. So You have to develop interest in reading. You have to develop a habit of reading for long hours, and big books, uh, big volume books, especially because the syllabus of UPSC is vast and you have to really remember a lot of things. You have to also start following the current affairs, start taking interest in the current affairs, and in the news and the issues that are happening in our country. You can start by reading any newspaper like the Hindu or Indian Express. And maybe if you are thinking about giving the exam next year, so you should start preparation full-fledgedly by taking the books that are there. So the book list is very long. I can't just really tell you in this talk, but if you want to see what books to be followed, then I have a blog which I've made especially for civil service aspirants. So you can just Google it by my name, Akshay Agrawal IAS blog, which is the name of the blog is India Rising, and in that you will get a lot of guidance for UPSC preparation as to what books you need to follow, and what sources you can refer to for different subjects. Um, and other things apply to you as well, what I told in my talk, that you have to learn from your failures. You have to understand the importance of imperfections, and that the success and hard work relationship is not linear. So this applies to civil service aspirants also. Believe me, if you want to, any random person, if he goes and writes civil service prelims examination, he can score 80, 90 marks out of 200. But in order to bring that 80, 90 marks to more than 105 or more than 100, that is where your hard work matters, and that is what decides your fate. So this thing is very important. Second thing about civil service aspirants is that uh, uh, you know uh, you have to find a golden mean between the competition and quest for knowledge. So what happens is that in civil service examination preparation, there are a lot of subjects and a lot of books available, and there's a lot of guidance also available online these days. So if you go, there are thousands of websites, there are thousands of YouTube videos which are there, and so that there is so much of material that is available. And as people and the aspirants start feeling that if they don't follow this material, if they don't follow that book, if they don't read this, maybe they lose out on something, maybe they lose out on competition. So they start reading literally everything that comes in their way, and in the meanwhile they just lose track of what they're doing. Second thing is, sometimes what happens is you just delve too much into any subject. So the quest for knowledge increases so much that you start trying to getting a doctorate in any subject. For example, if you start loving history, you will read history as if you're doing a PhD in history. So that quest for knowledge just sort of hacks your preparation process. Now the thing that my point is, you have to find a golden mean between these two. You don't have to go run after too many sources, and you also don't have to read one source in too much of depth. So you have to find a balance as to what depending on the demand of the examination, as to how much you have to read. And that you will understand only when you start preparing, only when you start looking at the question papers, as to what kind of questions are asked and how much depth is required, and how many books you should read for one particular subject. So especially for civil service aspirants, I think that is what is very important. Third thing that is very much important for civil service aspirants is that you have to follow your targets religiously, because as I told you, the syllabus for civil service is vast and huge, and you can't just afford to lose on your target, and you can't just afford to lose on your daily targets and daily goals that you have fixed for yourself. For example, today you have decided that you will read 40 pages of history, or you will complete 2 chapters of geography. You will do it, you have to do it, you can't afford to do it. And that is where your attitude is very much important. What attitude you have towards the examination, whether you are having a casual attitude, whether you are having a serious or sincere attitude. So that is what is very important. And it is said that attitude eats ability for breakfast. Okay. Attitude will always eat your ability for breakfast. You may be very intelligent, you may be very sharp, you may be very smart, but if you have a poor attitude, you won't succeed in this examination. And I guess that applies to other exams also. So that is what I want to tell you for aspirants of civil services. If there is any more question, so Vinil has asked me, sir, how could you crack in the very first attempt? Okay, so again, I would like to tell you that I believe, this is my personal belief, that I could crack it in my very first attempt because of great blessings, great blessings from my friends, from my parents, from the Almighty. Or I would like to tell you that it was also luck that I was healthy, my family was healthy, and everything was going on good with me. So that is how I was not mentally disturbed, and I was at peace to prepare. And I just the day was good for me, and that is how I cracked it in my first attempt. So that is the only reason that I can tell you. But why am I telling this? Because I have seen people who studied with me, who did the same amount of hard work but could not do it because of maybe some other factors which were not in their control. So obviously there was hard work. It was not that I did not study. I did a lot of hard work. So for example, I used to put in extra hours for before prelims. I just 2 months, 3 months before the prelims, I came back to India. I started preparing. So I started putting 14, 15 hours every day to study, because I knew that I don't have much of time. So I could crack it in just 6 or 7 months of preparation, because of two things. One is that I started putting a lot of extra efforts. Like I told you, if you are starting to prepare right from a year or 2 years before, you can study for 6 or 8 hours a day. But I started studying for 13, 14 hours every day, and those hours just rose to maybe 16, 17 hours before the mains examination. So that is how it happened. So it was a mixture of hard work, efforts, and also a lot of blessings and hard work, that a lot of blessings and good luck that that I had at that point of time. So Uh, so one question that is coming to me: please give your experience in personal interview of IAS. My experience in the interview, which is known as the personality test in for IAS or civil service examination, was that the questions that come your way are really to see what kind of uh, in what way do you think. So they're trying to just see the way that you think about different issues and different topics, because because they want to check your suitability for the job of an IAS or an IPS or any civil servant. So basically when what is the difference between an officer or an IS officer and a common man on the street, is that an IS officer has to think from a different perspective, and from many different angles, from the perspective of many different people from many different sections of society, whereas a common man on street may be biased, may be prejudiced, or may have just one-sided story. So you just have to make sure that that while your preparation, you try to balance your you try to balance your thinking, your analysis, and you have to think from many different dimensions about any issue or any topic that is there. So that is what they are trying to check. My experience was very good. It was a very very pleasant interview. It was for 25 to 30 minutes, and there are five people sitting with one chairman, and they ask you questions based on the resume that they have, which is known as a detailed application form, the DAF. So from the DAF, there is literally every information about your life, about your background, like what are your hobbies, what do your parents do, what is your work experience, what is your educational qualifications. So they start asking you questions based on that. They try to see what you think about different issues. Then they also give you different cases, different case studies, and they put you in a situation and they see what kind of action or what kind of decision will you take in that situation. So the and there are so many videos on YouTube that say that this kind of funny question is asked in IAS interview, that if I marry your sister, what will you do? Or believe me, this kind of stupid questions are never asked in UPSC interview. So don't fall for all these kind of things. I have also written very in very much detail on my blog about the preparation for UPSC interview and what kind of questions are asked. I have also put my entire interview transcript there, so you can see what were the exact questions that were asked to me. From that you can see that there is no kind of any arbitrary or nonsense questions. All the questions were related to my background, were related to my studies, my work experience, my hobbies, and also maybe some kind of situational questions. So I think the experience was very pleasant. They're very cordial. The interview panel is very, very cordial. They are they are the people of your parents' age or maybe even more. So they before them you are just like their kids, so they understand your situation, and they'll treat you like their kids, and they're very cordial, very friendly. They'll make you feel very warm, and but you have to be professional before them. That is what they expect. So the experience is very pleasant for almost everyone. And yeah, one thing that I want to tell you is that sometimes they also try to grill you, they try to put you in difficult situations, and they try to just see what kind of reaction you give to them. So but it is just for just seeing that what kind of reaction you give. It is not to harass you, or it is not to sort of torture you there. So don't be bothered by that, and you try to be cool and calm, and I think it's very cordial.
Sir, I myself have a few questions for you, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Mm, you have traveled through various disciplines and you have shown so much of versatility in your education. First, you have been an engineer and then you have entered economics background, and later you have delved into public policy. How did you manage these different arenas, sir?
Yeah. So one thing was that how did I manage? So first of all, the thing is like engineering is like almost 80% of people in our country do engineering. So that is how I was also. I'm also a middle class. I come from a middle class family, and that is what was the best decision for me to go for engineering for my graduation, so that I may have good prospects of getting some kind of job. So that is how I did it. In engineering, I sort of did what I was supposed to do. I studied engineering. I also enjoyed my life in my college. Then when I changed to economics, so it was definitely difficult for me to cope up because I did not have any background in economics. So what I used to do was I used to put in some extra efforts in order to understand the basics, because I had directly entered the masters in economics. So I was being taught the masters level courses, and it was assumed that I knew, or the students knew, the basic economics. So because I would not understand the basics many a times, I used to read the basic books and put in some extra efforts. So it's all about how much efforts you put in order to understand. See, any human being can understand anything, because human being is a homo sapien, the wise man. So you can understand whatever is put in front of you. Only thing is you have to put in some efforts. After that, I went into public policy. I worked there, and it was not very different from what I studied in economics, because I was in the economics section and the research was related to that. However, there was some practical point of view, so that is where I learned, how the theoretical things are, actually, working out in the practical environment. And then in the civil service examination, now, I'm still exploring. as to what is there. So it's all about how much hard work and how much efforts you're ready to put in. So whenever, and life will throw at you many challenges, many new conditions, circumstances. So it's all about how you deal with them. It's not that if you are a mechanical engineering, you will always you will be in your comfort zone. And believe me, you have to get out of your comfort zone if you want to grow. Once you are into your comfort zone, you stop growing. So try to put yourself in difficult situations, in new circumstances. And I don't mean by that you always do any kind of adventures with your life. So you have to be very judicious also. So the risks should be very judicious. They should be calculated risk, and that is how you should progress. But try to get out of your comfort. If you are in some company, if you are in the corporate world, change your section, change your team, maybe try to work with a new boss. And you have to experience all kinds of things. So, and it's all about your efforts, your sincerity, that helps you uh, whenever you change your field or whenever you get out of your comfort zone.
Oh, okay, sir. Could you share your experiences in your IS training academy? How it is to enter? Because everyone
Yeah,
cannot enter
IS
that.
Training Academy. Basically, the academy is located in Masuri, which is located in Himalayas. So the place itself is very beautiful. So the experience is likewise. So it's again, sort of living the college days again. We have a lot of batchmates together. It's like around 200, 300 people with you from different services, different areas, different walks of life, different backgrounds, different kind of attitudes. So it's all together college life again, but obviously with a bit of professionalism. The experience was very pleasant there also. It was a bit of a rush initially in the foundation course, because there are a lot of activities that you're supposed to do. But you have to go for PT in the morning at 6:15, at a ground which is downhill 2 kilometers away, and then you have to climb up again at 7:15, and then you have to rush to the classes and finish your bathing and breakfast before that. So there's a lot of rush, but that is what teaches you how to manage so many different things, which your jobs present you. Otherwise, the training is all about developing a camaraderie between different services amongst your batchmates, making new friends and trying to build new relationships. So that is what the training is about there. It's very pleasant, and definitely there are different kinds of people. So you have to start learning as to how you have to adjust with different sorts of people, because there are some kind of people who do some kind of things. There are some kind of people who don't like to do some kind of things. So it's not that you have to pick up a fight with somebody, or you have to basically learn how to be nice to the people on face whom you don't like. So that is what is also a learning in Masuri. uh, yeah, otherwise by and large it's very good. It's college life again. And the environment, the academy is so beautiful. The surroundings are so good that the place itself is something that is the most wonderful part of it.
Hmm. You have been an IS officer in pre-COVID times, and you have gone through lockdown, and now in post-COVID times. And could you share your experience with these drastic changes in your professional career, sir?
Yeah, so pre-COVID times was just normal life, I would say. So we say BC and AD when we refer to some point of time in history. So now the BC has become before Corona. A lot of things like going to restaurant with friends, chilling around, and going to movie theaters without worrying about whom you are touching, where you are sitting, what you are eating, whether there is how much crowd is there. So those were the times, I think, which are gone behind. And I'm not sure when we'll resume, or whether or not we'll be able to go back to those normal days or not. uh, During the COVID times, I was in the district as assistant collector, and I had handled some amount of COVID management along with my collector. So those were the difficult times, definitely, for the administration. First of all, especially to contain the spread of virus, and also to manage hospitalization of people who have contracted the virus. So my learning was that it is always it is always the system that works. It is not just one individual who works in the system, uh, especially in a situation like COVID. So it's always a work of the entire group. So it's not just one person, one collector, or one secretary who is working. It is so many people, on ground. There are Anganwadi workers, there are Asha Karmcharis, there are doctors, there are nurses, there are pharmacists, there are ambulance drivers, there are Safai Karmcharis. There are so many people, so many, lakhs of thousands of people, police officers. So I'm sorry if I'm forgetting to mention anybody, but literally it's a group work. So what I learned was that in order to handle any disaster of this kind of scale, it is always a group of people who will work. It is always a group work. It is always a task. So you have to understand how to understand your role in that setup. So you are always a cog in the wheel. You have to understand that you are not the entire wheel. You are not the machinery. You are always a cog in the wheel. You have to do your work, and if you do your work properly, then the entire system will work properly. And as an IS officer, you have to make sure that you have to make sure that others are motivated, because fighting, you can't imagine working 24 by 7 for one long year, one continuous year, without one chutti, one holiday, single vacation for nurses, for doctors, for police people, for safai karmcharis. So it is very difficult to motivate these people to have, to keep them in high spirits. So you have to learn that also. So that is where your emotional intelligence comes into play. So you have to not just be intelligent, you also have to be emotionally intelligent as to how to motivate people, how to do a teamwork, how to celebrate small successes, and how to always have a plan in order for any contingency that may come in the future. So that is what was my learning from the COVID times. Unfortunately, I also myself contracted the virus, even though I took a lot of precautions. And I can share with you that those 14 15 days when I was quarantined, when I was in hospital, you know those were like every single second I was, it was more of a mental, it was more of a psychological disorder that I was suffering through, whether I'll be alive, whether I will, what will happen to me. And I could completely relate with what people were facing. So definitely it is a very dangerous, it was a very dangerous disease. It is still there, and that is why I sort of implore to everyone to keep your guards high all the time, because it has not gone away. Now in the post COVID time, so actually we are not really in post COVID times just yet. Post COVID times are yet to come. We are still in the COVID times, and as you see, the numbers are rising again, and it's very unfortunate that the spread is even more than 2020 now in some of the states. Although vaccination drive has also started, so we are hoping, so there is a silver lining on the cloud. So we say that there is some hope that it will not long as much as it did in the last year, because the vaccine has come and we have already inoculated around 4 crores people, especially senior citizens and people with comorbidities. So that is where our role also comes into play. The common people, the common citizens of this country, has to cooperate with the government machinery, with the administration, and do follow all the instructions that are given to you. Take vaccine when it comes. When your turn comes. I have myself been vaccinated and I did not get any side effect. Obviously, like every vaccine has some sort of efficacy, and somebody may get some side effects, but it's not that the vaccine is a failure. So you have to trust it. You have to trust the administration. And I'm sorry, but we are still not in the post COVID times. We are still in the COVID times. You have to keep this in mind and have your guards high.
Thank you, sir. As is a hashtag of Andhra University, Tejasvina Vadyatamastu, let light shall come from all directions. It is a
Right.
very glad session. I'm very glad that I have joined your user. And now I am handing over the mic to Mr. Vinay for vote of thanks.
So, thank you a lot, sir, for joining in the session. And the whole session was really informative, and most of the students got inspired with your talk. I guess most of the students will inspire from you and also will learn a lot of things from you, sir. I thank you a lot from the platform of Gita for joining us. For almost an hour, sir. Thank you a lot, even in your busy schedule. Thank you for being connected here, sir. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now I thank Mr. Akshay Sunil Agarwal Garu for joining us, even in his busy schedule. I also thank our Professor P. Malkarjan Rao Garu for shaping this platform, and I also thank Professor Masuda Ma'am and also AU Computer Cell for shaping this online platform, which is also known as Gita. I also thank my team, Mayor, Gautam Sir, Chaitanya Sir, Nitisha, and others as well. We'll see you on the next Sunday at the same time at 7 p.m. Please post down your suggestions in the comments box below. Thank you all. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram.